Welcome to the Divine Gossip Podcast. I'm your host, Mackenzie Foster, a professional psychic medium, tarot reader, and spiritual mentor, here to provide you with the next steps towards your dream reality, along with clarity and deep validation while on your spiritual journey. I have an immense passion for all things paranormal, spiritual, and of course, having some super fun chats with incredibly knowledgeable people. In each episode, we will expand our minds, ignite our inner psychics, embrace our spiritual awakening journeys, and live a super grounded, witchy life. I hope you learned something new in today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to the Mackenzie Collective. That's new. Okay. Divine Gossip is the podcast name, actually. I have an incredible guest with me, Jenna Rose. I'm going to give her a little brief intro, but then she's going to introduce herself. Jenna Rose is an online wellness and intuitive eating coach. We just talked about her transitioning more in person, but I'm sure it'll come up again. But she helps people ditch diets / unrealistic ways of getting healthy. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're so welcome. I appreciate you making the time and coming here and like giving us all your knowledge because it's so interesting and I'm very excited to dive in. I can't believe I just called my podcast the Mackenzie Collective. That was
That's
so
so funny.
funny.
Isn't that your Instagram name?
That is my entire business name. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, your Instagram business name. That's so funny.
I don't
You
know
know
why I
what?
did that.
I feel like podcast intros can be so awkward. Not you, but like just in
Yeah.
general.
No,
Like,
yeah.
unless you have the pre-recorded, it's like it feels just a little like,
Yes.
Hello, everyone," even though I'm talking to myself right now.
Yes, exactly. It is easier with the guest though, because then you're actually talking to someone.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Definitely.
yes, but can you give us like your little personal story? What led you to become a wellness and intuitive eating coach? All the things of how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, I will try to sum it up because I feel like I tend to like have a lot of different ways to tell the story or describe how I got to where I am. But basically, I wasn't always into like wellness and fitness growing up. I was, I guess you could consider like in a larger body. And I didn't really care about it. Like, I don't think you grow up caring really about how your body looks, and then suddenly you have all this influence from like outside pressure, society, your parents, whatever it is. And so I was in high school, and that's kind of the age where I feel like you start to have some of that outside pressure, care more about what people think. And so I started exercising, or at least trying, and it kind of quickly turned into like an eating disorder and over exercising and just like obsessing about the way I looked and kind of a poor body image, a relationship with my body. So then I got help for that, which was definitely needed. And I switched my mindset and was like, I want to be strong. Like, I don't care about being thin. I want to be strong, healthy. Went away to college, actually went to college for kinesiology, which is exercise science, like science of the body and exercise and physiology and all of that fun stuff. And even though I was going for that, I still was like overtraining and like trying different. It's funny because I'll talk about like how diet culture has changed throughout the years. Like in college, I thought like, oh, keto isn't a diet or going low carb isn't a diet, but really it's kind of just like a kind of a like different way to describe a diet, right? It's like slapping a different label and being like, this isn't a diet, this is a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
It was not sustainable. I was had a really bad cycle with I would restrict and I thought I was eating enough and then I would binge later on. And I'm sure we've all been through that cycle of trying so hard to not eat, resist, and then you binge. And it wasn't until I was already a trainer and a group fitness instructor in college, I could help other people create a really good routine and relationship, but just not myself. And then after college, I became a personal trainer in the industry. I was doing some other different like managerial jobs in the industry. And I really just started to like lean more into the intuitive eating world, and like had to go through some hard things in my own fitness journey to then realize what's best for myself and my body. And I decided to step away and try to do my own business, which I still have going, but I'm more in person now. But I really just wanted to kind of like reshape my philosophy as a person in the fitness industry, because I think we don't realize how much of an impact we have on people, especially when they are so new to it. Like even like Mackenzie, when you and I talked about intuitive eating, like you asking me questions, I could feed you anything. Not that I was lying, but like I could feed
Yeah.
you anything, and if you don't know about it, you might believe it. Just like
Hmm.
vice versa in any industry, if you're talking to someone, you could easily be like, they're the experts. So I just really wanted to like reshape the way I was helping out my clients. So I am in the process of doing an intuitive eating like certified counselor program. I obviously have a lot of different certifications within fitness and nutrition and things like that. But I really do focus now on more of that mind body image, healing people's relationships with food, trying to stray them away from diets or unsustainable ways of like eating and working out, and just helping them to feel like really freaking awesome and confident, versus just focusing on losing weight. I do still help people lose weight, but I try to really like focus on other areas, because at the end of the day, the scale is just a number. Your BMI is kind of bullshit. So I just try to really like, I've just really revamped the way that I help out my clients.
Uh, that's so incredible. I love that. Literally made me so happy when you said your BMI is kind of bullshit. That is so like relieving for so many women to hear. Like that, those words are just like, thank God. Oh my God.
I
Because
mean,
I,
everyone's obese
yeah.
with
Wait, what'd you say?
everyone's obese with their BMI. Unfortunately, that's just
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. I've always, yeah, I totally agree. I've noticed that. I'm like, because every time I would go to the doctor growing up, they were always like, "Oh, you're morbidly obese." I was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." Like that's exactly what a 13-year-old needs to hear.
Thank you for using that word. You really had to add on like the first part too, like make it
Yeah.
really like
Yeah.
ingrain it in my head. So I like go to school and I'm like, well, this weekend I found out that I'm morbidly obese. So
I know. And yeah, I grew up with like such horrible language being used and such like, oh, skinny is better and like if you're skinny you're pretty. Like that is just like ingrained in my head and I'm still doing so much work to like unlearn those. And I'm so happy you said like you're very careful about the like how you present this whole world to your clients, because it's the same thing with spirituality too. Is like I could tell there's so much fear mongering out there, there's so much negative language, there's so much damaging language you could use to such newbies. So I love that you have that like filter, not filter, but like perspective on it, like that empathy, you know. um yeah, and the reason, I guess I should explain this, is the reason I wanted to bring you on is because you do take such a holistic but more like mindset intuitive approach to feeling better in your body. And I think that's so like with all of the health coaches I followed before you and have now unfollowed, it was always lose weight, get smaller, like hit workouts. It was never like maybe based on your cycle or just more like gentle and like not a one size fits all kind of thing. So that's why I wanted to bring you on, is you do take maybe a little bit more of a spiritual approach, some would say, you know.
no, I can definitely agree. I think that's why we connected. I think like spirituality, I think all of it, like being spiritual, I think it does mean that you're in tune with yourself and your body and your mind and how you're feeling. And it's the same way with fitness. It's not just about I should get my ass to the gym and I should work out. It's like you have to really like dig deep and be like, how am I feeling? Okay, am I not wanting to eat this because I feel like I can't because of past beliefs? Or is it because I'm truly not hungry? Like there's so many different feelings attached to the actions that we take or don't take. So I agree. I think it's I always tell people like wellness and fitness is a pie chart, and there's so many different pieces on that pie chart. You can keep adding them based on who you are, and it's the same way with spirituality. I feel like it's not just one thing, and that's why you can't just, if you're a health coach, I personally don't feel that you can just say, do this 8 week plan and you will lose 30 pounds and you will be shredded and look hot as shit. You know what I mean? Like that is taking advantage of your audience. And I understand people have businesses to run, but it just makes me sad because that is just not how it works. Like everyone is so different and what feels good for them and their bodies.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, how do you feel like intuition has played a role in your wellness journey?
Yeah, I feel like it's played a role because I have gone through periods where I knew that I was doing things that were against my intuition or how I was feeling. And always call it like intuitive movement or intuitive fitness. And intuitive eating is you being able to tap into how you're feeling when you're eating and when you're moving your body. And there were times when I could tell like my hormones were out of whack. I was in a really bad place or like a really dark place with fitness and food. And I knew that I was just going against everything that I should believe in or everything that my body needed. It's almost like if you don't listen to your body will force you to listen to it. Kind of same thing with your mind, right? Like you can like try so hard to fight things, but they're going to come to the surface. So I think that's how it's played such a role. And on the flip side, it's helped me so much to be connected with my body, even get results, right? I know it's not all about physical, but even be able to help my body even more and help my mind to feel better.
Yeah, that's really important what you said there about what feels good to you, because your intuition is can be a gut feeling, it can be a knowing. And I think, at least for me, and it sounds like for you too, it is a feeling. Like I always talk about with my clients, like intuition can show up in different ways, but specifically with wellness and fitness, it's always going to be about, does this feel good? Does that feel not good? And you can always tell. And I think it's so important to also be like, because what I always grew up on is there's good and bad foods, quote unquote. And we can eat in bad foods, let's say like cookies. I was always never allowed to eat cookies when I was growing up. So I now eat cookies because I feel like it makes me feel, I have to ask myself this question of like, does this actually make me feel good, or am I doing this out of like a rebellion because now I can eat cookies, and it actually wouldn't be feeling good for my body. And I think intuition is a feeling, but it's also like an awareness, like you said earlier, of like asking yourself certain questions and like having that really self-awareness of the why behind things, because that will tell you a lot. So I love that.
Yeah, I think I've learned to do a lot of like just in life to like self check-ins to
Mm.
be how am I feeling? How does this feel? I tell clients too when they work with me, like I ask my clients in person or online, like, how is this feeling? Like, how is this making you feel? Like, what are you feeling? Not to sound like a therapist, but like, it is so true. Like, is this feeling good for you? Do you like this? Because with food and fitness, like, you're probably not going to do it, or you're probably not going to want to eat it, or you're going to be resentful if you don't freaking like it. If you're just doing it because you saw this influencer online with a six pack doing it, like you're going to hate it. And then it's just not going to be sustainable. But Mackenzie, I wanted to ask you, what does intuition mean to you in your world?
Intuition, I literally am so happy you asked me a question. None of my guests so far, like no shade to them, haven't asked me questions back, and I've been waiting for someone to do that. So thank
I
you.
love asking questions back because it makes sense. I'm probably going to do that throughout if you're okay with it.
Yeah, I love it. Like, please.
Okay.
Intuition to me is the opposite of like your ego trying to protect you. Like in my head, it's like your human ego voice trying to like protect you. Not that it's your enemy and you shouldn't listen to it when it's telling you a fear that's popping up or an anxiety that's popping up or some overthinking. But your intuition is like a more subtle, flowy feeling. It's not a fear based or a what if this, what if that. It's just a knowing. But I think again it can show up as like a gut feeling or like a random thought in your head that just clicks correct or clicks right in your brain. Intuition is very calm to me. It's very calm and guiding, you know?
Free flowing.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like it doesn't feel so constricting.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true. I always talk about with clients too, like the having, I use these words, free flowing and fluidity. If that's even a word, I might have made that up,
No, it
fluidity.
is. It so
Okay,
is.
but it's just hard to say, fluidity.
Yeah.
Um,
Love that.
but I always say that, like, that is how your fitness and food and like wellness should be, because when it's rigid and strict, and you can say this in the same, like, in your industry too, it just is not enjoyable and it feels constricting. It feels like you have to do something versus want to.
Yes, that's so true. And I love that you also said that you ask your clients back, like, how does that feel to you? I will never work with a coach that just tells me to do something because I should. It doesn't ask, like, how does that feel? Like, should we tweak some things? Like, how does that feel in your journey, whether that's coaching in any area? So I love that. Like, anyone listening who has a coach and they just push things onto you and make you do things and just make you feel very rushed or like you're fitting into some kind of box, like run, you know?
Yeah, no, yeah, I would not want that. I feel like that feels like it feels like they're putting pressure on you. And I've even had like a client say once that she was like, "You make me feel like a weight's lifted off my shoulder when it comes to like fitness because I don't feel pressure." She's done like Weight Watchers in the past and things like that. And she's like, "I just felt this pressure to conform to, I have to lose weight." And that was all it was. And when I wasn't, I was failing. So
That's so upsetting. Yeah, but also amazing that you make her feel like that. That's so funny because a client yesterday said the same thing to me. She was like, every time I talk to you, I feel like a weight's lifting off my shoulders. I was like,
what
that is
coach?
the best thing to hear.
Yeah.
I love
It
that.
really is. It really is.
So, can you define intuitive eating for people who may not know kind of what it is?
So I like to think of intuitive eating as being able to tap into your senses and be able to eat in accordance to what makes you feel good without food rules and without like there being any kind of plan or restriction. You are eating in a way that feels right for your body. And just to kind of go off of that too, like a lot of people think that intuitive eating is, well, I'm going to sit around and I'm going to eat M&Ms and then maybe I'll grab some Cheez-Its and then I'll grab a cookie. Like it's not like that, because learning how to intuitively eat, you are eating foods that make you feel really good. And oftentimes with my clients, as we take the step-by-step approach, because there are different principles, they learn that the nutrient rich foods make them feel the best and they eat a lot of those. But they also, if they want to have the bagel and the cookie and the chips, they're going to have it. And there's no food rules, so there's no good and bad. There's just foods that make you feel better than others.
Mm,
And
love that.
there, you don't have to go to an app or a diet or a meal plan to know when to eat and how much. You are so in tune with your hunger cues and your body to know when to eat, what to eat. Which sounds like a lot, especially for people who have been ingrained in diet culture. It can feel fearful. Can I ask you what you thought of intuitive eating before we talked, or like what your thoughts were before? Like what, I guess, what scares you about it, or what would scare you about it? If you were someone, because I know you told me a little bit about like just that you have had those thoughts in the past of like, this food is good, this food is bad, like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean, diet
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah, I think that intuitive eating before I started consuming your content, before I even consumed Bailey's content, shout out Bailey. I don't even know if she listens to this, but We love her around here. But she, like, even before I started following her, I thought of intuitive eating as like you said, what feels best. Like some foods feel better than others. Like that, and I knew that the language of good and bad wasn't in intuitive eating. So I've always gravitated towards it, but I never knew how to like start intuitive eating. I understand when I am intuitively eating, like tonight my boyfriend wanted like alfredo pasta and chicken, and I'm like, I cannot do anything heavy right now. Like I'm craving like a juicy salad with like chicken and like, like I can feel what feels good in my body.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. You really do. And it's not to say that like one is better than the other, but obviously at the end of the day, like intuitive eating still, you still care about nutrition. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that a diet is bad because it doesn't like it does care about it. It just means that it's not so again, it's free flowing, there's fluidity, it's not restrictive. You don't feel like there's as much pressure. And oftentimes it ends up healing, yeah, your relationship and the toxic thoughts that you have about food that really do hold you back from living. And oftentimes people end up feeling healthier, maybe getting to their goals, seeing results even from intuitive eating. Although intuitive eating is body neutral or weight neutral, it doesn't mean you're gaining weight or losing weight on it. Do people lose weight on it? Yes, because oftentimes their problems stem from not being in tune with their bodies.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think that's important to note on too.
Yeah, for sure. I think what scared me, and maybe even still a little bit does, like I feel like if I wanted to like seriously using that very lightly, because it is free flowing, but I think if I wanted to like really pursue intuitive eating, I would want to have a coach supporting me that like is a master at it, because I think I do have a small fear that I wouldn't be that I would be that person that was like, oh, well, I'm intuitive eating. I can eat Cheez Its all day if I want. Like, cause it's just not like that. Cause and like going into that, I didn't even know there was core principles of intuitive eating until I made this outline through ChatGPT. So why don't we talk about those?
God, wait, that's amazing. I was wondering, I saw that outline and I was like, oh, damn, okay.
Yeah, not from me.
I love
Podcast hack.
it. I love it. Yeah. So I can go into those a little bit. I'll kind of go over the main ones that I use with clients. There's a lot. I have like a workbook that I work through. And then in my course there, we really deep dive into each of them. But
Okay.
really, a big one is honoring your hunger. A lot of times in diet culture, you tend to push your hunger away, right? You're like, I'm hungry, but my meal plan says I can only eat 3 meals a day, or I'm hungry, but me wanting that, I don't know, cheese and crackers isn't good, or I just ate lunch. Why am I hungry again? But you honoring your hunger and knowing, being able to tap into your hunger is really going to help you propel forward and be able to know I'm fueling my body because my body says I'm hungry versus you pushing it away so much that you get to a point of being so hungry that you binge or overeat or kind of like gorge yourself in food the next time you eat. Um, Another one would be like releasing your fear of food. So a lot of times people have fear foods or foods that in their head they just tell themselves are like taboo and bad. Oftentimes with clients, it's like any kind of carb, anything carb heavy, any sweet treats, any caloric drinks, and just being able to say like this food isn't bad and it doesn't make me bad. It just doesn't always make me feel the best. So when I eat it, I try to tap into my hunger cues and eat it while being mindful. Kind of on that same note, we talk about like reframing the diet mindset. And that one would be reframing is really great because kind of on that same note, people can attach their worth to like the ways that they eat. They can say like, I don't deserve to eat out for dinner tonight because I didn't work out. But in reality, you can say, I get to eat this meal out and I'm going to tap into my hunger cues. I'm going to listen to my body and I'm going to eat what feels good. And then I'm going to continue on and not overindulge. It's not that all or nothing mindset. Um, there is also, I'm trying to like go down. I have like almost like a screenshot in my head of the different things. One of them that kind of I think goes hand in hand is like exercise joyfully. So that just means like you exercising in a way that is celebrating your body and isn't just based around like losing weight or changing your body, but also wanting to feel really good and powerful. And doing it in a way that isn't forcing yourself or punishment. It's more for the love of it. And sweating and feeling good and endorphins and all of that. There's a lot of different principles. I think another really big one is feeling your fullness. Oftentimes I don't know, Mackenzie, if you can relate, but I think sometimes we just don't know when we're full.
Yes, that is
You
literally.
struggle with that ever?
Yes, my boyfriend and I can overeat like a mofo if we don't like take a deep breath between like each of our bites. Like we grew up always like I think we did talk about this. I may be making this up. I can at least speak for me is like I grew up being like you should eat everything on the plate because it's there. Like my dad would always say that like eat everything while you have it because I think he also came from like a very he was very poor growing up, so he when he started making his own money he always like held on to everything so tight, so he was like we can afford this food now so you better eat it all, you know, like so I always grew up like even if I was full having to eat, which is really dark now that I say that out loud. So I have to really like chew my food and like enjoy it. And then I can, if I'm like watching TV too hard or I'm like not present with my food, then I can like shovel my face in and then feel like shit after.
Yeah, I have so much to say. We did talk about that, and that is a very common thing. Oftentimes, I see from clients, they either have um, there's a couple things, but like growing up, I was part of the clean plate club. Like my dad always said that, like, "Woo, finished your plate." Nice job. Like it's a reward if you finish it when you're little, right? Instead of being like, "Okay, you're not hungry. I'm not going to force food in your mouth," especially for littles, right? But I was the same way. Like I had to learn, like, I can leave some in my bowl. Like I have learned to be like, okay, I'm gonna put this in a container for later in the week. And even if I don't eat it, it's not the end of the world. Another part is knowing that even if I do finish my plate and I check in with myself and I realize that I'm still hungry, it's okay to eat more.
Mm.
But I do suggest like kind of really doing self check-ins, like is the food still satisfying? Do I feel comfortable in my stomach, you know, in my like abdomen? Like, do I feel that like sense of fullness? Am I slowing down and breathing and drinking water? Like, there's a lot of self check-ins you can do. Not to keep rambling on, but there is one really important one that I think you'll really appreciate. But a big part of the principles of intuitive eating. One of them that I want to went over with a lot of clients has been like being having attunement or having attunement disruptors. And what I mean by that is a lot of it comes from self-care. So oftentimes we have attunement disruptors when we aren't creating boundaries in our life, when we aren't making time for ourselves, when there's lack of sleep, there's stress, we're eating while distracted, we're skipping meals, we're not nourishing ourselves. Like a lot of those self-care things can be attunement disruptors, and those can lead to like not being able to intuitively eat properly. And you know this, like when you don't sleep or when you're stressed out, like you tend to not be in tune with your body and you're just kind of running on adrenaline and you're eating just without any kind of mindfulness. So
Yeah.
that's a huge part of it.
Yes, there's definitely I love the self check-in thing that has literally changed my life because I think what I have obviously gotten good at with my job and just being spiritual is tuning into my intuition, tuning into my body, and like building that muscle of like self-awareness. So I love that, first of all. Just wanted to say that. But yeah, I mean, I just forgot what I was gonna say. What the hell?
It's okay. Did you see me stumble
Wait,
that second?
attunement.
I'm like, what am I saying?
Wait, you were talking about attunement
And disruptors.
and how it's hard. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, okay, here we go. I was gonna say that yes, I do feel like, and I was gonna ask your opinion on this too, is that there's some basics to be had of like enough sleep, nutrition, like nutrition basics that you need to have in order to like build some kind of practice, whether that's intuitive eating or something spiritual or whatever.
Mhm.
Would you agree? Yeah, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I tell this to like my in-person training clients too. Like some people are like, "Oh, I'm not seeing results," or I don't feel better." No one said that. I'm just that does happen. And it's like there's so many pieces to the puzzle in the pie chart. Like the basics are you do have to care for yourself. Like whether that means setting boundaries in your life, making time for friends, not overworking, getting sleep. So, at least I think like even myself, like I've had to really change my sleeping schedule because I've noticed that it makes such a big difference. Nutrition, I'd say, of course, like even with intuitive eating, it's still important to be getting those things that really satisfy us. So I skipped it, but one of the principles is feeling your satisfaction factor and knowing that. So oftentimes we think of healthy food as one thing. So it might be like a salad, but the salad only has lettuce, iceberg lettuce, which really has like zero nutrients, iceberg lettuce, tomatoes, some cheese sprinkled on it, croutons, and dressing. And someone's like, well, I ate that and now I'm freaking full and now I want to stuff my face. And it's like, there are basics that we need that are going to satisfy us. And what I mean by that is, does it taste good? Did it fill me up? Was it full of nutrients? And like, did it make me happy? Like, did it make my soul happy? Not every meal might do that, right? I have some meals that I eat that I'm like, could have been better, but it happens.
Yeah.
Um, but I think there are basics, like obviously having healthy protein, carbs, fats. And what I mean by healthy is just the ones that are really going to fill you up and keep you full longer.
Yeah. How do you feel about the word healthy? Isn't that like a controversial thing when people sometimes don't like it? I mean, I don't mind it personally, but what are your thoughts on that?
Um, it's hard. To be honest with you, I think there can be an unhealthy side to every industry. So
Yeah.
there's very like diet culture is very unhealthy, but also there can be some terms that or people that take things too far in my industry as well. So in the more like holistic or, anti-diet world, I think it's still okay to say that like I try to like just really kind of change up my verbiage. So I use the words a lot like this food is nutrient rich.
Yeah, I love saying that.
Food is not nutrient rich. Like it is gonna make my soul happy. Um, but unhealthy and healthy, I do try to stray away from a little bit. I still do like to say like I can say healthy like for other things other than food. To be honest with you, that's kind of what I found myself. Sometimes I like to say like, oh, that was a good healthy meal, meaning like it filled me up. I just try to stray away from like thinking of healthy in a way of, oh, it's healthy because it was a burger or a burger. It was healthy because it was a salad versus a burger. Like I try to not do the comparison. I just say like this is healthy because it was nutrient rich and filled me up, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I actually like changed that wording a long time ago with myself, and I started saying nutrient dense instead of healthy because it just feels better because it's like, yeah, I agree with everything you said. I don't want to repeat everything, but yeah,
Yeah.
I love that for sure.
Oh, good. Yeah. I definitely think that it's such a balance. It's such a balance. I'd love to ask you though, do you like what are some things that you think have been really hard, like in the online world, like following different like fitness influencers? Like, what are some things that you think have been triggering that you've seen? I'm just curious if I know you've unfollowed people, but like, are there any accounts that you've seen that you're like, that is not good for my mind, body?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I'll even say her name too, because it
Oh my
actually makes me
gosh.
mad.
Oh, a little spicy number. Is she gonna come for us?
Definitely not. She does not know who I am. She's a
I know.
very big creator. But so her name's Lauren of Love, and that's her like
Wait,
Instagram
wait,
name.
wait, 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 wait. Turn her page. Let me see her.
Okay. So she's actually a spiritual and I don't want to say influencer, but business owner. She has like a ton of courses and like
Fitness, you said?
she's spiritual. That looks like her.
But does she do fitness stuff too?
So, no, except she got sponsored by I forgot the company name. I can definitely pull it up because she talks about it all the time and it's been so I actually unfollowed her and stopped listening to her podcast because of it because it was so triggering for me.
Oh.
Um it was so basically she got on the like Manjaro injection from a company. Yeah. So she was like she's literally a holistic like leader. Like she's literally preaches for years about healing naturally through your body and holistic like exercises and practices and like building a business holistically and like spiritually and I loved her and then she got sent these injections by this company like lost what like 40 pounds or something like that and has been posting about it at least like once a week and she made a whole podcast episode about how this injection like saved her life and you know we're in a human world we should be taking advantage of amazing science and I'm like dude you can't you're not a fitness coach you know nothing about nutrition and health you can't just say this is a fixer for everyone and it's so amazing you need to try it because every post is sponsored by the company that sent her the injection so it's not even authentic it just really made me mad.
My God. Well, thank you for sharing that. First of all, sorry
Yeah.
that it triggered you. I do not blame you for that. That stuff really irks me because
Yep.
I even have a couple clients like who are on like what is it called? Like semaglutide or like
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Mounjaro, Ozempic, obviously. That's like I feel like
Yeah.
number one you hear. But I have one who's on it for like actual being a diabetic, and she like both of my clients who are on it, they're like, I don't want to be on this. I'm on it for like a certain reason. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? So it's just sad that there's some people who are not even considered overweight and they're on it, or they are in in a body where exercise and food could help. And I've seen the controversial like topic of some people really can't help it and need this to even help them.
Mm-hmm.
And it just still is like, I don't know. Like, I do
Yeah.
think there's a lot of ways to get healthier without it because, in
Yeah.
the end, it's most likely not going to be sustainable. And a lot of these people on it are going to at
Mm-hmm.
least have some kind of relapse, I feel like.
I agree. And yeah, I just also think it's sad to see like random influencers all of a sudden talk about it when it's like you obviously have no like certifications,
I,
you're not an MD, you're, yeah, like you're just not qualified.
yeah, I would agree with that for sure. And again, it's like use your platform like to do good, and you can really take advantage of people, which is scary.
Yes. And then there's also this other creator who is like way bigger. I forgot her name. She's on TikTok and she it's not even like I think it's triggering for me and it's a personal thing. It's not even that she's doing anything wrong. It's just that she is a very like aesthetic clean girl who like makes every single little ingredient homemade and
Oh my
sometimes it just like makes me feel like absolute shit because I'm like that looks so nice but you're also like a billionaire you know who can afford like incredible ingredients and yeah so it's definitely not her fault it's just I don't know it's a little unrealistic you know
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's another big side of it is like, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now. You froze a little.
Okay. Sorry. But I think another big part of it is like kind of in like the hormone world, like if we're, if we brought up Bailey before, but like in the hormone world or the spiritual world, like you can go crazy overboard with any of it. And I think it's really about just like finding your balance and what is realistic and fits into your life, and no one can tell you that it's right or wrong,
Yes,
right? Like, no, really, no one can tell you that your way of intuitive eating is wrong. I mean, obviously, you can like do things even better, but yeah, you kind of just have to create your balance of it.
for sure. What are some challenges that you see your clients face when they start intuitive eating or like go at their fitness journey with a more free flowing approach?
I'd say just all the things that have been ingrained in their head. And that's why a lot of what I do is try to do like mindset work with them, or at least chat with them about, how can we break those toxic cycles that you've built up throughout the years, and really using a lot of the reframing, using new verbiage. Um, and it sounds, it's easier said than done, but like learning through experience and like proving to themselves, like they have to prove to themselves that like them getting off of a food tracking app or them stopping Weight Watchers or them, not exercising 7 days a week, like is going to make them feel even better. So I think it's just like learning to trust their bodies again.
Mm-hmm. That is huge.
Yeah, diet culture is anti trust your body.
Mm. Oh my God, that
Really
was
is though.
awesome.
Really is
Yeah,
though. Like it's,
it is.
oh, your body doesn't know what to do. You have to do this even if your body's telling you no, screaming at you.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Um, would you say that intuitive eating also like you do have to have I feel like it's a yes, but just to clarify, you do have to have a basic baseline knowledge of what foods are nutrient dense and what foods are not. Like,
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so just to give you some background, like if I were to like do intuitive eating with someone, I still look at what they're eating, and I don't look at it to say, like I have them do like an average week of eating or whatever, or I even have them track it. And it's not to say you're eating too many calories, you're eating this. Oftentimes I see people aren't eating enough. What I do is kind of break down what they're eating and try to add things in. So for example, someone comes to me, I'm going to make it up, and for lunch they have a peanut butter jelly sandwich and crackers. And for breakfast they have a banana, and for dinner they have a pizza and ice cream and chips and a margarita. And I'd say, "Okay, you can have those things, but like can we add some can we add some protein to breakfast? We should get some protein in there. Like we need to add more because you're probably ending up going into lunch hungry, and then all you're having is peanut butter and jelly, which isn't a lot of nutrients in there. It's carbs, maybe 3 grams of protein or something. And then you're having some more like carbs with the crackers, and maybe that's giving you a little bit of energy, but you're not getting the nutrients that you need. So I really do just try to add things to their meals, and almost like we come up with different ideas. And I've really done a lot of like cool experiments with clients to say like they almost like create their meal. They do create their meals, but like we experiment with like how did this meal make you feel? Like how do we add variety because our gut and our microbiome and all of that like loves variety, and we can't just eat the same things all the time. So I do kind of help them with the baseline of it. Oftentimes people have enough knowledge to know at least a little bit. But I really do try to add things in versus removing them.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't exactly know how to ask that. So
Oh, it's a
yeah,
good question. It's a good question for sure.
okay.
Yeah.
What are more of like the physical benefits that you see, if any? Like I know you said like inevitably some people do lose weight on this, but is there any like other benefits that you see from intuitive eating besides what we
Yeah.
already mentioned?
I mean, honestly, I'll kind of go and say like intuitive eating and intuitive working out, or just like a healthier approach to working out. I see a lot of like obviously strength and growth with muscle, because they're being more consistent because they're enjoying it.
Mm.
And they're not telling themselves they have to work out for an hour 5 days a week. They're actually, and then skipping and falling off and on. They're consistently working out 3 times a week and feeling great and sticking with it. And same thing with the eating. They may be eating chips and salsa and cupcakes more often, but they're not binging anymore, which has, helped them to feel better in their bodies. And they actually ended up, losing some body fat without trying. Like, there are the physical benefits, but often we don't focus on those. And that's what makes it easier to come to, because they're not so hyper fixated.
Yeah, I
Which,
love that. That's
yeah,
so exciting. Is there any like client success stories you want to share that you just like really love?
yeah. I mean, there's a couple, but I'd say, and this individual is still my client, but I'd say like she has just had a journey with like Weight Watchers and being on diets, and her goal was really to be able to like garden more and like be able to like get on the ground and play with her kids. And like she has just amazed me. Like, she no longer binge eats. She really struggled with that. She can have food in the house and isn't like emotionally attached to it anymore. She has lost weight, but it's been a very slow and steady process, and she's not focused on it. She no longer thinks of, she used to be really attached to like the point system with Weight Watchers because they engrade that in your head. And she does not look at anything like points. She has crazy energy. She gardens for hours now, which may seem like a little thing to people, but it's huge. She has never been super consistent working out, and now she's taking like 30-minute walks a few times a week and lifting a couple times a week. So she just amazes me, and is now honestly like reading books on intuitive eating. And her symptoms, she has diabetes, so we've seen some of her like her blood glucose go down. And yeah, it's cool.
Wow, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That makes me want to cry when she just like wants to garden and you really helped her do that. That's so
I
sweet.
know. And it's things like that where like I'm amazed that people come to me and like maybe their goal in the past was like, I want to lose weight. And I'm like, okay, but why?
Yeah.
And then like now we get to say, okay, why do you want to garden? And that why is so much more powerful. I want to be able to play with my grandkids when I'm like, there's just so much more to it. And that's why like even now working with my in-person clients, like I always, we break things down when we're goal planning. I'm like, well, why do you want to get stronger? Like, let's take that further, because then when you're feeling shitty or unmotivated or not feeling great, you can circle back and be like, oh, I want to feel stronger because I want to be able to lift my child, and I want to be able to not have osteoporosis anymore, like just crazy things. Or I want to be able to manage my, I have a client with fibromyalgia. So there's just, yeah, it's just cool. There's so many more things to fitness than just weight loss. And when you focus on it, those physical results can come, but without it being something where you're so hyper fixated that you burn out and you feel freaking terrible.
That expanded my brain in perspective in such a cool way. That is such a
Oh,
cool way to look at things.
you're my hype girl.
I'm like not even exaggerating. That is so cool. I hope so many people listen to this. Like, I want the whole world to hear you talk. I'm dead
The world.
serious.
Oh my gosh, you are
Just,
funny.
especially women, like it's just, and I didn't even realize, I never like got into Weight Watchers or like even paid attention to what the system is, but they do points.
Yeah, so I honestly, I can't say I know the whole system now, but I know that you get a certain amount of points a day, and you can eat whatever you want as long as it's in your points. But it's also just it is another diet. It is. No one can lie and say it isn't. Also, I think Weight Watchers now is able to give out uh the like weight loss shots too. So that's fun.
Oh, that gives me anxiety.
Oh, I know, but people will learn. I really do think people will learn. And the people who really do care about it won't resort to that. That's just
Hmm,
my take.
that is very true.
Or at least rely on it fully.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Is there any like tips that you can give for people who are wanting to like change their lifestyle and be more free flowing and intuitive when it comes to their wellness journey?
Yeah, so I'd say, I mean, there might be like two types of people with this, but the person who maybe like has always tried to get healthier and has been locked into like the diet culture, I'd say to that person, like, it is possible to get out of it and to try to like, don't be afraid to scrap what you're doing and
Mm,
start small and start over and like make a goal that isn't so weight loss focused or body changing, and to try to take it one step at a time and celebrate your small successes. Don't think that there's one way to do things and to really do things that you enjoy because you are going to stick with it versus you thinking that you have to do something. Then maybe to the person who is already working out, but maybe like going crazy with it or obsesses over eating healthy, but wants to step away from that. Like, same thing, like don't be afraid to start over and say like what actually is going to make my body feel good, and like have add in that more like flexibility within your routine and the way you're eating, and starting to intuitive eat. I think it really does come down to starting to tap into your senses and really just being more mindful, so appreciating the food you have, knowing that it's not just for fuel, and that there's so many other things that can come from exercise and food.
yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, that I love those because I have experience with all, I was gonna say all my parents, but that sounds weird. It's because I have a stepdad and a stepmom and a
Oh, okay.
mom. So I
All
don't
my
know,
all my parents, all my families.
all my adults and well, I am an adult now. Wow, never mind. Um, anyway, all
You
of my
still produce like
parents,
good children, though.
yes, yes. All the adults in my life have, I've watched them start maybe like 30 different diets, keto, the shot, the injection we were talking about, the like so many things. And every time they can't follow through on it because it sucks and it's not fulfilling whatsoever, they feel so guilty for stopping it, eating like shit for a few weeks and then starting another thing. And it's like, it's I literally grew up with just such that cycle, and I'm just so grateful for people like you in the world that are like helping people see a different perspective.
Yeah, I really tried to, and I hope that there has to be a balance, right? Like sometimes you do it to push yourself, but you also need to know when to scale back and when to eat the damn cookie.
I know, yeah, like just eat it, it's okay. Okay, is there anything else you want to leave the listeners with? Anything on your mind and heart?
I love that. Um, I'd say that you don't have to do what anyone else is doing. There's no magic workout, even if someone says there is online. There's no magic meal or meal plan or what I eat in a day to make you feel good, to make you look a certain way. It has to be something that you truly find joy in.
I love that. Joy of movement with Jenna.
I had to add that.
Okay, that was amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and explaining everything and giving us tips and asking me questions too. That was so fun.
Yeah, yeah. I figured I was like, I gotta get you into this. I hate like I never want anyone to feel like I'm just rambling, right? I need to have it be interactive.
Yes, I love interactive. That is my jam. How can people connect with you further if they're wanting to work with you or like dive into anything you do?
Yeah, so they can obviously I'm in the Milwaukee area. So in-person training, virtual programming, things like that, consultations. You can connect with me either on social media at Joy of Movement with Jenna, Facebook, Instagram. Otherwise, you can email me at Joy of Movement with Jenna, or my actual work email, which is JSELESTOW@thewack.com. I love that I just spelt it out, but jceleste@thewack.com.
I love that. And I'll put all of that information in the episode notes. Yeah, I think I'm going to make a little intro and outro separately from this, so I'll explain it all after. But thank you so much again for coming on and sharing everything.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate you. I'm excited to listen to it. That's kind of weird, but I like to re-listen and be like, "Oh, you kind of hear it from a different perspective."
Yes, I maybe that is weird. I don't know. I don't think it is. I re-listened to all my episodes, so
Yeah, I would too. I would too. And you're amazing too. Thank you for connecting with me. I'm sure we'll stay connected and in each other's worlds and rooting for one another.
yeah, for sure. All right.
Yay.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to rate and review Divine Gossip on whatever platform you listened in on. Head to the MackenzieCollective.com to work with me further. If you have any questions or have any topics you want me to cover or any guests you want me to have on, please email all of that to info@themackenziecollective.com or go to the episode description to fill out my Google form. I love you. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode.